Welcome to this ATA Insights webinar. Thank you for your ongoing interest and support of our webinar program. Today's session will begin in 2 minutes. ATA Insights Webinars is an online platform for the dissemination of professional renewable energy knowledge across international borders. Our aim is to democratize access to information, for innovation to spread faster, and to make the industry more competitive. And we do this through our online sessions, open to all our members. Every year we do more than 100 sessions with over 250 speakers, 50,000 attendees from more than 50 countries. To participate in the session today, use the chat on the right-hand side to introduce yourself, your company, and where you're joining from. Under the screen, you will find the Q&A box, where you can send your questions for the speakers. We will get to as many as we can today. We're recording this session, and we will send you a link to the materials in a few days. Please consider supporting our content creation for the webinar program. Contact us on the email on screen. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon from wherever you are connecting today. Thank you so much for joining us in this new webinar, Renewable Energy Communities, the Path to Lower Energy Bills and Enhance Resilience. My name is Christina Galan, and I will be your moderator today from ATA Insights. Before we start, we have a really interesting topic, great speakers ahead, so I'll do a couple of housekeeping rules, and then we will move on to the fun stuff, which is the presentations, of course. So as the video said, this session is being recorded. You have the chat available, so let us know where you're coming from, your job title, what you do, and why are you interested in this topic. You also have a specific Q&A box right below where our panelists can view the questions that you ask. Feel free during the presentation to ask all your questions there, and we will go through as many as we can. Also, a shout out to the people on YouTube. You also have a chat available for presentations and as well for Q&As. So without further ado, we have 3 amazing presentations, as well as later a Q&A, a specific session with all the panelists. And I will start by introducing Nelson Lage from Adene, National European Energy Agency in Portugal. So Nelson, good morning. The floor is yours.
Good morning. Welcome to this first webinar, Adene Insights about renewable energy communities in Europe. Let me start by saying that today we more than ever we really need a true European energy union and a true energy revolutions. Only by creating synergies in proximity productions we'll be able to respond to the challenge that we face today, the challenge of the energy transition, and of course to accelerate sustainable energy projects, in particular the development of renewable energy communities. In this Europe, in Europe of multiple geographies, it is really necessary to emphasize the strength of the Iberian Peninsula, whose governments in Portugal and Spain must accelerate the productions of renewable energy, making really the best use of our natural resources. By betting on renewables, we will be taking consolidated steps in our common commitment to the energy transition, in a change that must be fair, a change that must be cohesive, and also must be really democratic. With renewable energies, we will be closer to energy autonomy and self-sufficiency, and also closer to a true green economy that will create more and better green jobs based on technological innovations and social development. It is urgent to decentralize energy, to have a true European energy union. The European Commission needs to make more funds available to accelerate the energy transition. Also, European leaders need to support local and regional authorities, because the municipalities are those that are closer to the population and can be a driving force in a sustainable energy transition in cities, in regions, and also in communities. So in this path of change, the renewable energy communities are really an essential instrument in a response to the European citizens affected by energy poverty, and they are a lot. But they can also contribute in a more cohesive way to this democratization of the right to energy. With local energy production, we will be creating jobs. We will be creating jobs in different technologies such as photovoltaic, wind, solar thermal, maritime, or new challenge posed by the productions of the new green hydrogen. Portugal, from a very early age, invested in renewable energy. It's not something new. We started some decades ago, but first through the dams, we achieved a significant production of energy through water resources, but also through a strong commitment to wind energy with the many parks spread across the national territory. Now we are really turning to solar. In the last couple of years, we're turning to solar, which is experiencing a really exponential growth, both through large-scale projects and also through self-consumption solutions in renewable energy communities. Thus, Portugal is today one of the good European examples of energy transition and the commitment that has been made to renewable energies. Therefore, we consider that we are really better prepared to face the current energy crisis than other countries. Today, the Portuguese energy mix already has significant amounts of renewable energy, and the trend will always be one of growth. According to APREN, the Portuguese Association of Renewable Energies, in this January, close to 85% of the electricity generated in Portugal came from renewable sources, meaning that between January 1st and 31, Portugal was the second country with highest incorporation of renewable energy in generation of electricity, and it was all second only to Norway. Today, more than half of the energy production in Portugal comes from renewable sources, with an emphasis on wind and hydropower, as I said before. But we really need to go further. We need to go further with these new measures to support the decarbonization of industrial companies and the creation of projects for communities of renewable energy. More local energy production means really more competitive prices. The productions of renewable energy will help to, and I'm sure that it will help to mitigate the increase in energy prices for consumers, among other things. Both Portugal and Spain have enormous advantage to produce renewables with, we can say, with a privileged location for the production of solar energy, with really a number of hours of sunlight radiation much higher than that other European countries. So this is really something that we must do, bet on solar and bet on energy communities. So, dear participants, I'll finish saying that the energy communities encourage clearly the participation of citizens in renewable energy projects, transforming the consumer into a producer, into a distributor, and also into a seller of their own energy, reducing their dependence on energy, facilitating also efficiency by producing locally. I am truly convinced that the Iberian Peninsula can be one of the biggest players in the development of renewable solutions that allow us to take the lead on this front of the energy, on the energy transition. So thank you very much. Hope that we have a really good webinar around these such important issues, such as is the energy communities. Thank you very much. I'll pass the floor to you now. Thank you.
Thank you, Nelson, Chairman at Adene, for giving us that introduction, highlighting the urgency of decentralization and the strength that the Iberian Peninsula is having. Specifically for this presentation, we have two cases that Maria and Hector will later talk about. But before that, Manuel Casquiço, also from Adene, is going to give us a little bit more of information regarding energy communities and how they've been acting right away. So Manuel, if you want to put your slides, share your screen. And in the meantime, I have to say that it's amazing to see that we have people from Europe and also outside Europe. We have people from Egypt, Malawi, Tunisia, Portugal in Europe, Spain. So it's great to have a different mix of different people from all around. And thank you so much for joining again. So Manuel, thank you for being here. And whenever you're ready, you can start your presentation.
Thank you very much. I think you can see my slides now. So thank you very much. So my name is Manuel Casquiço. I'm the head of industry and energy transition at Adene, the Portuguese energy agency. So this is one of the things that we are working on energy communities, energy decentralization. So we have made a study in part of the NR network. It's the European Network of Energy Agencies. So we have made a study to understand what is the role of energy agencies and to understand more about renewable energy communities. Now, can decentralization help to achieve what we need in terms of energy targets? So these are the objectives of the studies to identify the state of the art on the legislation. So we know we have across the different member states in Europe, different states of legislation, and not everybody is at the same stage. So also to understand the benchmark solutions to increase the investment and dissemination of renewable energy communities. Another important aspect is to characterize and identify the grid obstacles, because we know we have a centralized systems across the majority of the member states. And we are talking about energy distribution and energy decentralization. So this is another thing that is also important. Another thing that we have identified, it's good practices. So what we asked all the partners of the NR network to identify what are the case studies they have, and of course to identify and evaluate the role of energy agencies in the implementation of the renewable energy communities. So the participation in this study were about 13 countries. So these are the member states, and of course also the United Kingdom through the Energy Saving Trust, the energy agency. So you can see the distribution in the map. The key findings, so we divided the key findings in 4 different areas: legislation, support, barriers, and also the role of the energy agencies. One of the things that we find was the definition of renewable energy community, because we know that energy communities can have different activities in different countries, but in Europe, because of course legislation and European directive, the basis of the definition, it's the same in the majority of the countries. Basically, it's the renewable energy community, it's a legal entity, so it's open and voluntary to all members, and the majority or the core activity is to produce energy from renewable energy sources to the generation, of course, and make the distribution and of course the sharing of this energy that is produced. Another thing that we have identified, it's the services provided by the renewable energy communities, because we know that it's not only to produce energy, they can do other type of services. And we can see they can also make, you can see the countries, but they can also make different type of energy services. For example, electric vehicle charging, it's one of the things that majority or some of the renewable energy communities are trying also to provide. Important aspects about the findings that we have identified. So one of the things, it's a licensing process. As I said before, we have a centralized system in the majority of the countries in Europe. So at the moment, in some of the countries, we are talking about a complex and a bureaucratic process. It's not a simplified process to make the implementation of the renewable energy communities and also collective self-consumption. Things are evolving. So the study was made in 2022. Things are evolving. At the moment, some of the countries already are making complementary legislation to simplify the procedures. But at the moment that we have made the study, this is one of the key problems to go forward. So at the moment, some of the countries already have instruments of support, are working in different type of instruments of support. We have identified what we call 2 different types: economic type and technical support. So last week, for example, here in Portugal, it was finalized a program to support energy communities and collective self-consumption. So it's something that majority of the countries are also working on, and technical support. So it's one of the things that Adene it's developing. So creation of one-stop shops to the facilitating of renewable energy communities, manuals, guides, so technical support. But we know that, of course, it's not satisfactory. We have to, that's a collective effort that we have to do, and some of the things that we are working on. Also, of course, other member states are also working on. Regarding the barriers to the implementation of renewable energy communities, so we divided in 4 different types of barriers. We call it legislation, so behavioral, economic, and technological barriers. I have only here the major ones, or the ones that are more highlighted by the different countries, but you can see the study, because the study is already available in the ANR network website. But what we can see, our highlight, it's those legislative barriers. It's still not clear. So in some of the countries, we have the main legislation, but there are pieces of the legislation that they are not published yet. So it's something that must be, of course, addressed. Another important aspect, it's what we call the how to start. So this is one of the key issues also. In Portugal, things are now trying to develop, but we know that in some of the countries, in the majority of the countries, this is the question: how to start, how I can go to, where I can go to, or where I have to do the licensing process. Another thing that we also, our Adene is working, and our colleagues from the energy agencies, is the lack of awareness, so information dissemination activities. Another important aspect, it's what I said before, the grid connection barrier and the lengthy process to have this to the grid connection is something that it's, of course, taking another long time. Economic barriers, so the energy tariffs, it's the grid connection barrier, the access costs to the grid, it's also a barrier, and the financing obstacles, so of course the financial investment that we have to make. An important aspect, it's what we call the technological barriers. So the grid connection, it's the low capacity of the grid. So as I said before, we are talking about a centralized system, and then now we are trying to decentralize, and this distribution, this energy production. In some cases, the grid don't have the capacity to absorb all this energy. So it's something that it's an investment that must be made by the countries, and of course by the distributors, to avoid the congestions of the grids, and of course to have more capacity. We also identify different case studies. So we are talking about 36 case studies that you can see in detail in our study. So one of the things that we try to identify is the legal structures. As I said before, in Europe, renewable energy communities must be a legal entity. We see that majority are cooperatives. And also, one of the things that we try to identify is the number of members that participate in these renewable energy communities or collective self-consumption. As I said, as you can see, the maximum number that we found, it's a cooperative with 600 members. So, but the majority are between 2 and 9 members. So actually, it can be a small number of members. Another important aspect, it's the drivers of motivation for the creation of renewable energy communities. One of the things that we have identified is that these case studies, the one that's older, it only have 12 years old. So we are talking about something that it's quite new. But of course, the financial motives, it's one of the key drivers, but also the investment in sustainable infrastructure. So it's something that it's quite interesting to understand. So the majority of promoters and investors want to be, of course, be part of the sustainable infrastructure and to be a part of what we call a positive aspect. Another important key aspect, it's what we call the type of services that are promoted by these renewable energy communities. So energy generation and supply, of course, and sharing. It's the majority of it's the key issue here. But also, as I said, energy services and services linked to sustainable mobility. Another important aspect is what we call the perceived socioeconomic benefits of the participation, acceptance in this aspect. So it's also quite interesting, quite important. And finally, what we call the replication opportunities. So the majority of these case studies were in the residential sector. We see that also the local and regional authorities participate in these renewable energy communities. And as the last sentence, I think it can resume all this. It's that the renewable energy communities may have a wide application, so covering particularly all sectors of activity. So it's very interesting. Regarding what we call the actionable recommendations, so of course the government must have a key role here. We have to simplify and streamline the procedures and the requirements of legislation. It's one of course, the key findings here is simplify legislation. Also to see if it's possible to set up adequate finance and technical information support, and also to see if it's possible to bring everyone to the energy transition, also to the vulnerable and energy poor citizens. So just to end just some of the main barriers. So we have identified some key barriers. You can see in the study in more detail. I will just highlight some of them because of the time. So as I said before, the procedures must be simplified. The grid congestion, of course, it's one of the problems. So the grid capacity, it's also that must be also working on. Regarding the economic barriers, we are talking about programs and incentives from the national governments for this type of activities from these processes to renewable energy communities, and also to see if it's possible. We see one of the things that we have seen also, it's the cost of storage in some of these cases to be viable in some of the solution, and also the technological barriers, as I said, and also important is to encourage complementarity amongst renewable energy sources. So the majority of sources we are talking about solar, but what we are talking about is also to see if it's possible to have a complementarity. So just to finalize it, just to see the deliverables that then we already have. So we have made a simplified guided legislation that you can see in this link here that we have. Of course, this guide is in Portuguese. But you can see also what we call a collective self-consumption regulation, internal regulation. It's in words, so it's in Portuguese, but you can try to translate into English if you want. And we also are working in an individual self-consumption technical guide. We already have finalized, so we are working just in minor details, and we will publish soon. So basically, this is the conclusions of the presentation. So we know that renewable energy units can bring a positive impact. So legislation adoption and is still far from completion, but we know that we are working on that in different member states. So the processes by national entities takes too long, and we have to simplify. The grids don't have capacity. We know that we have to make some investments. And finally, just to say that energy agencies can play a role, so we are working on that role also, and we are working on some of the actions and technical guides to help promoters and all citizens at the national level. And you can see the study in the ANR network, and it's done. So thank you very much. I know I passed 1 minute or two of the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manuel. No, I think time-wise, you were perfect. So we're still in the schedule. So thank you very much. The chat people are saying that the study is very, very interesting. So I'll go ahead during Maria's presentation and send the link that you just showed in yours. So thank you very much for that walkthrough and that study and the findings that are very, very interesting. So next on, we have Maria João from CleanWatts, Energy Communities Director. She's going to talk a little bit more specific about Portugal and what is happening in the energy community arena in Portugal right now. So Maria, thank you so much for being here. And whenever you're ready, I see you already got your presentation on. Okay. So the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Oops. Sorry. So my name is Maria João. I work at CleanWatts. We are a company that, we started working in the energy community areas and in some projects, some financed projects in 2016, I think. It was just a pilot to prove the concept and try to, before we had any legal framework that we could use. So we were just proving the concept, and we work, at least we try our best to work in what will be the future of the energy market and and of our energy needs. So about CleanWatts, I won't talk too much. I'll just tell you our values, because I think they are very important for us, and that we need to show them: the accountability, the empathy, the integrity, the initiative, the resilience, and responsiveness. So I don't want to get too much into the company, because this is not a commercial thing. We try to deliver the energy transition where it's most needed, at the local level, at the community level, and we try to do it using our operation system. Well, I think people will have access to the PowerPoints, right? And so I don't need to go through all this. This is a display of how the different platforms work as an operative system, from the homes to the grid, connecting everything, the vehicles and what we try to do is develop energy communities. Here we have what we did last year in terms of energy communities, and actually it's not 130 in the end. This slide is from September. We ended up with 135. Hopefully we will end up 2023 with 350. But this is 135 local people with a company, firefighter, building, something like that hired us to build an energy community around it. It's not actually an energy community yet, because, well, the licensing is a process. So we didn't license everything. Actually, we have fully licensed. We don't have a lot of stuff. When I say fully licensed, I say you having a grid usage contract with the operator. And in that sense, we have one licensed community. It was licensed in August 2021, so it was a long time ago. I usually say this, and I think it's very accurate. I have been energy communities director at CleanWatts since we have an energy communities division. So I accompanied everything from the start. And when I say to my team, and my team is roughly around 15 people, this is a process of try, fail, learn, and try again and fail again, and fail better, fail faster. And when I say to my team, guys, we need to get back, this is not the way, we must correct, they are very quick, because they are a young team in a private company. And it's a small team, it's 15 people. So they are very responsive. But this same process is followed by every entity in the system, in the global system. So the clients have this process, the members of the communities have this process, they learn, but also the licensing entities, even Adene had this process, I'm sure, of learning through all this time. And so DGG, that's our licensing issuer in Portugal for the energy communities. Well, the team is not as responsive as my team. It's a public entity. They are very much regulated. So it's not easy for them to correct their route. But in the last year, especially the last 6 months, 7, I would say, we have seen a tremendous amount of progress from not hearing anything from the entity. Okay, in the start, we sent the licensing requests, and we had no news at all. They were just silent, and we couldn't connect. and ask people. Then we started being able to ask for feedback and show them where were our main pain points, which communities are more important for us, because the energy communities are not all the same in terms of urgency. For example, if we have 3 companies, Manuel was saying, was one slide that I think was very interesting, is that most of the energy communities have 2 to 9 members, I think. So most of energy communities are small. If you have 2 or 3 industries and they build an energy community, they are very resilient to the DGG delays, because they know the process. They are aware. It's easy. If I go to a rural area and present a project and build an energy community with people in households, they are not resilient, okay? They will throw the towel, and they will, if we take too long, the community will not develop, because the expectations were not met and people don't have the resilience. Households don't have that resilience. They don't know the process. They don't understand why it's taking so long, why the licensing is not done yet. And so we are not, when we are talking about an energy community, we can be talking about a lot of different stuff. And so we started being able to say, okay, guys, this is really important. This particular community is really important. Please, we need to move this one. And then DGG started doing some upgrades and saying, okay, let's fill in this Excel file. Then, well, maybe let's get the Excel file better and let's automatize some processes. And I think right now we have, actually last week I had this very, very interesting experience that we sent an email to DGG asking for the licensing of an energy community or resubmitting stuff, something like that. And DGG answered us in 41 minutes. So it was after 6 p.m. in a Friday. So I wouldn't imagine a public servant working at, it's not our minds are not configured to that, okay? Our prejudice, sorry, I was missing the word. Our prejudice is that, okay, this person at 5 p.m., they will leave the office and they are off. No, at 6 p.m. on a Friday, starting a weekend that would be long for a lot of people because it was the carnival, they answered us in 45 minutes or something like that, asking, okay, you need to send us this document, you are missing this document. It was really cool to see that they are moving forward. So I was telling you before about the energy communities in rural areas, because it's a very important project for us. And this was actually the main use case that I wanted to present to you. This is a project that aims to fight energy poverty. It's really sad to say that Portugal is one of the most affected countries in Europe by energy poverty. I heard last week that Portugal is the most affected country by energy poverty in Europe right now. So having this beautiful weather we have that we all know, we are on the top of the countries in Europe where people die of cold. So this is a really serious problem. And we try to help creating energy communities in rural areas that are more exposed. And they don't have that much access to information, to money, because the investors usually don't want to invest in a village, in a remote village somewhere around Portugal. It's 150,000 euros of investment. Usually the investors don't want to do it. So we built this project that we group small projects, and we go to those areas and create the energy communities. It's very interesting because on the, differently from the industrial settings where people are very much aware of what's happening in the energy market, when we go to the rural areas, it's not that much the energy market that's troubling people. It's the losing of the sense of community. I'm sorry, but my doorbell rang and my dog is gone crazy. I'm sorry about it. So they are losing the sense of community, and they look into these projects as a way to strengthen those ties of community, the sense of belonging to something, of working to a common good. And so it is a very rewarding project that has that particular challenge that I told you before, is that people, when we talk to these people, some of them are elder, and so we need the licensing to be fast, or at least very predictable. The thing I feel I need most is predictability, and to be able to tell people, okay, now I will submit your licensing request in the community, and in 3 months we will have an answer, or in 4 months, or in 6 months, something, a number. I need a number to tell people so they know what to expect, because they accept these projects with a very, very eager attitude. So we need to meet those expectations that they create. About our first project, because I wanted to present to you something that was really, I don't think there's a lot of stuff here that's interesting. So I wanted to present some numbers. I don't have them here, so I'll just stop my screen sharing. Well, I would stop my screen sharing if I was able to. This is weird.
Maybe we can stop it for you.
Yeah.
But
I don't. Oh, it's here. It's here.
there
Okay,
you go.
I found it. So our first project was in a facility, a social facility. They are very common in Portugal. It's called Santa Casa da Misericórdia in a very, very remote city. It's not a village. It's a city. It's Miranda do Douro. And they have now they have 33% of energy autonomy from the grid. And what I found curious, looking into what into the results of the energy community, is that they saved 18,000 euros yearly, and it's a lot of money for a small facility, because it's very small. And if the energy produced, considering that the energy produced was bought in the market at spot prices, at an index tariff, that energy that was transactioned among the community would cost €100,000. Sorry, so it would be a lot of money, and they would face, it would make their sustainability problem a lot worse. And I'm talking about financial sustainability here, not on environmental terms. So So I think I'm done.
Right. Just wanted to check. All right. Well, Maria,
Thank you.
Thank you so much for bringing us that technical, practical, hands-on side. We really appreciate it. Also, the social factor, which is extremely important. And thank you for bringing this interesting case to us. Moving on. Without further ado, we have Héctor De Lama. Hi, Héctor, from UNEF, which is the one of the main photovoltaic associations in Spain. He's going to talk a little bit more specifically about Spain and the approach that they're having regarding energy communities, renewable energy communities. So Héctor, whenever you're ready, I see you have your slide ready. So I'll leave the floor to you.
Hey, thank you very much, everyone attending this webinar, and thank you, ATA Insights, for organizing it. I'm Héctor De Lama. I'm the technical director at UNEF. I'm normally more in charge of generation facilities, not self-consumption and energy communities. But anyhow, this is also one of my topics of interest, and I'm very interested in the development of it. So today I will discuss a bit the general framework of how this works in Spain, and then some details, some brief stories of success examples in Spain. So in Spain, the energy communities are not, they don't have a specific regulation. They are mentioned in various royal decrees and laws, but they don't have specific regulation. And in those decrees is where they are mentioned, they are not very concrete, but we hope that soon the energy directive of the EU will be transposed into Spanish law, and then we will have a more concrete framework for energy communities. As of now, we think of them as legal entities. This will be the main difference with collective self-consumption. In Spain, we have these two schemes: energy communities, which are legal entities, and collective self-consumption, which is maybe in a building. Some neighbors share energy, but this is not an energy community, as it doesn't have to have doesn't have to be a legal entity. And this, because they have to be a legal entity, they can be formed by SMEs, local authorities, municipalities, etc. Really, any legal entity can get together and form an energy community in Spain. And well, one of the main points of the energy community is that those in charge of it, those owning it, own the energy generated by it, so they can use it and sell it. And once they sell it, these profits that are generated must be reinvested in the community. So we already see that there has a lot of potential, both as a business model, maybe in industrial areas, but also as a social opportunity for many small neighborhoods or big neighborhoods and large districts and towns, because this reinvesting of the profits can really help both the businesses and have a good social impact. So the main piece of law that describes this is the Royal Decree 23/2020, and well, it does recognize PV as one of the main forms of generating these solar communities, energy communities, and it does open the way to understand these as not only generating electricity, but they can also offer other services, just like energy efficiency, aggregation, storage, and maybe even distribution. So this we saw in Manuel's presentation, that other European countries do recognize that energy communities can have all these kinds of activities. As well, of course, now that we are seeing the rise of the electric vehicle, of course, energy communities can serve to charge those as well with charging services. So all of this adds up to generate an energy transition ecosystem. Different stakeholders can collaborate, share energy, and make the most of the energy they generate. So what are the benefits? Sorry that the title hasn't changed. It's the Spanish. So of course there's great environmental benefits. We've got all the reduction in greenhouse gases, and the fact that it is local allows to reduce the distance the energy has to be carried. This is one of the main advantages of renewable compared to fossil fuels. There's also economic benefits, as it reinforces and the local economy and employment and although the productive capacity, and of course there's great social benefits. In fact, here in this PowerPoint we see it is one of the main things really. It empowers citizens. Because this is maybe one of the main ways they can have an active role in this ecological transition. It serves as well as an education for the citizens to really learn what's the impact they're having, what's a kilowatt, right? What's a kilowatt hour? Maybe my parents don't know about this before engaging in a local energy community, but after that they do learn this and they get really involved. And it also creates a community, right? Because then the different neighbors, the different citizens, they have to discuss with each other how to organize in a democratic way, and this way it's a way to really to create a community and even socialize. And of course, with that comes a great tool to fight energy poverty. And one of the main issues in Spain nowadays is rural depopulation. So because of this, you can have cheaper, more accessible energy in rural areas. Then many people can go back to the countryside, to the villages, and prosper there. And of course, there are other benefits, such as benefits to the electrical system. These are challenges as well. Sometimes it really depends on a case-by-case basis. But if the energy is generated in the place where it's consumed, some bottlenecks can be solved. Yes, other times this is also a challenge because these networks were planned for consumption, not for generation. So there can be bottlenecks in the opposite direction as well. But I think mostly this can be a great advantage. So very generally, the regulation that involves self-consumption and rooftop solar in Spain would be all these small laws. But as I was saying at the beginning, we still need a specific regulation for energy communities. But well, nowadays in Spain is understood mainly linked to self-consumption. But it's basically like a self-consumption, but like a legal entity that allows you to share energy between the different stakeholders. And to promote these energy communities in Spain, the ministry created a plan, and quite big, with 100 million budget, and the objective was to aid the development of energy communities. This plan has three programs. Energy communities learn, which in Spain would be Comunidades Energéticas Aprende. So every time you see CE, doesn't mean it means energy communities in Spanish. Then Planifica, to plan, and then to implement. So these 100 millions would be are being dedicated to implementing energy communities all around Spain. So then this program has various rounds of grants. The first round is until its investments up to 1 million, the second round above 1 million, the third round again below 1 million, the fourth round above 1 million. In total, 40 million for the first two rounds and 40 million for the second two rounds. And well, there's different time periods where you can ask for this government aid, and well, both of them are now ended. So maybe in the future we have other rounds of grants, or maybe there's other types of schemes. So what are the results of this Implementa program? Well, the first round had this effect. There was 45 energy communities built all around Spain, and this was more than 230 actions. This means, well, all kinds of things, from building the actual installations to building to coordinating all the local authorities. This is in 14 out of the 17 autonomous communities we have in Spain, the regions we have in Spain. And well, the local contribution for these projects was above 87%. This is really, really great, because it really shows you how the local population is engaging these projects. So all the population, when we say local, we refer to that population which is within 25 kilometers of a certain project. And then there's also an additional approach, which is the creation of these community transformation offices, oficinas de transición climática, which comunitaria, I mean, which they have as an objective to advise the population. It's a physical space which has the objective to advise the population and disseminate information about energy communities, and accompany the local population into developing the energy communities. In this sense, what we see, for example, this webinar ATA has organized is a very good example of what is needed, right? Because the dissemination of the information is very important to the development of energy communities. So this was the second program, and well, applications just finished a month ago, and there was also a lot of offices that disseminate all this information and work with the local population to empower it and really help develop local communities. The total budget for this program was 20 million euros. And also it was really extended all around Spain. Now the IDAE, the Instituto de Diversificación y Ahorro Energético, which would translate to Institute of Diversifying and Saving Energy in Spain, which is one of the main actors in developing solar or energy communities in Spain, has published a map, a dynamical map, where they show the energy communities in Spain. This is those that they haven't identified. There are a few more, of course. Some of these dots are actually a bunch of energy communities in themselves. So maybe we see one here in Madrid, but there's basically 3 or 4 or more. So yeah, there's detailed information of the existing energy communities in Spain, and this is very good, right? Because it really helps the population say, okay, maybe I want an example. Okay, there's an example nearby. Let's go check it out. Let's go learn about it. Let's engage with the neighbors of a different neighborhood. Let's see what they're doing. And so, of course, this helps really the population understand what is going on, right? So this way, it's really easy to know where we can find an energy community and what it is all about. So just to give you a few examples of all around Spain, of course, not all of them. There are many in the map and many more. I will just discuss a few of them. So here we have Alumbra, which is created by both the city council of a town near Huelva and the association, the neighborhood association called Muti, well, they have as an objective to support the community, to learn, to create a dialogue around energy, and well, to really discuss how to organize in ways to have a good life, a dignified, sustainable life in rural areas. Then we have another example on the opposite end of Spain in Asturias called Haz tu Energía, very appropriately. Their main objective is the construction of citizen sovereignty, to really make the citizens own the plant and really take charge of the generation, participate in a democratic manner, and well, generate social resilience, because also one of the objectives of this energy community is to leave no one behind and ensure that they can help everyone in their local area out of energy poverty. Then in Madrid, we have this cooperative. They actually make a lot of projects in a variety of places. They have made, I don't know, a few energy communities in Rosa Luxemburgo, La Pablo, many. In total, they are now 17 families that have access to these energy communities. Only from this eco cooperative. Then there's others, of course. And now in Valencia, there's this other cooperative. As Manuel was saying, cooperatives are one of the most typical ways of organizing energy communities, especially in Spain, where we don't have any other, many other alternatives, as there is no specific regulation, right? So yeah, the other cooperative in Valencia, they implemented this community especially to mitigate the existing barriers for self-consumption, as they realized that the people in the town did not know how to develop these projects, and through this project they had a common self-consumption which they could use and share. It's a big one. It's for self-consumption is 120 kilowatts, and they also include storage so that they can use energy outside solar hours. And this is a very big success, as it covers 50% of the electricity consumed by the 300 citizens in their local area. But there's still some barriers, some challenges. This is the main barriers that were already identified a few years back by the ministry, and some of them are still there. For instance, there is still not enough information to transfer information to the population is really necessary, and yes, this would be probably one of the main barriers. And also there's the need for a specific legislation that allows us to have a concrete way of developing energy communities is also quite necessary. So to have a more concrete perspective on the barriers, the permitting of energy communities is sometimes challenging. There is a guide to orient the municipalities to develop energy communities. Actually, UNEF was helping the IDAE and the ministry with this guide. Also, the Confederation of Municipalities also helped. So now we hope that with this guide, it's a bit easier to navigate all the permitting. But still, there's the main barrier is to get citizens to know the advantages of all this, and to solve that challenge. there must be information days for self-consumption. There must be other information guides that are not only directed to municipalities but to other stakeholders. The conflict resolution with the distribution networks must be solved faster, because this is one of the challenges of permitting. And as well, nowadays the job market for installers in Spain is really saturated. So training courses that could also, again, has a very good social aspect, that it can reduce unemployment. So training courses and job creation would be another a good way to go. In general, the challenges can be summarized in these 8 points. Some of them are really common to other types of renewable energy development, such as financing, but then others are really concrete to energy communities, as I've been discussing, like poorly defined regulatory framework. I really hope that, like, maybe you're seeing this video in the future and it's already solved. I really hope that this poorly defined regulatory framework is solved within the near future. But as of now, we're still waiting. So and then again, there's also a big lack of experience in developing these projects, and unlike other areas of Europe where there is a bigger tradition of cooperating and in democratic ways to organize. Maybe in Spain there is also a lack of experience in democratic associations. So these are the main points that are the challenges of energy communities now in Spain. To address these challenges, the IDAE has created the Self-Consumption Observatory with offices around Spain to try to solve these challenges. And
Hector, sorry, can you
yes,
wrap up in? Oh,
this is it. Yes.
Fine. Please finish.
Okay, so yes, this is all I can say about energy communities. These are the projects that have been developed in Spain, and these are the challenges. And I hope this has been interesting to those attending the webinar. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Hector, for giving us that hands-on approach of what is happening in Spain and how to apply and the approach that we're having. We're running a little out of time, but I hope that's okay for our panelists to ask a couple of questions from the audience. So I'm going to start with Manuel. We have a question from Aitor, who's asking how energy storage is considered in these communities. I know that in your study, in the last part, we were saying that it was an expensive asset still, but it's still something important to take into account. What is the approach that you see in the future coming years in these communities?
Thank you very much for the question. So one of the things that we see, it depends on the type of community, of course, and the services. So one of the things that we are trying to promote here in Portugal, well, of course, it depends on the promoter, but it's to see if it's possible to have different type of services participating in these energy communities. So to have different type of consumption profiles, and they can match to see if it's not needed to have storage, because of the costs. Currently, energy storage is still a high cost for the process. We know that we have projects. So we have one project here in Porto that already have storage considered, but they have some sponsor, some financial incentives. So in these cases, it's still benefic to have storage. What we see is that what we are trying to promote is to have communities with different type of profiles. This is the first stage that we are trying to promote. Second, if it's possible, they are trying to consider storage. But if we are talking about, for example, industries or services that have high consumption, so of course, they are still benefic. So it depends of the type of profile, of the type of service. So it's something that it's not simple to answer without evaluating different type of entities that are participating and buildings that are participating on the community. But at the moment, it's still considered a high cost asset, okay?
Perfect. Thank you very much. Hector, we have a question from Avelino. He asks, how long between approximately the decision and the implementation of an REC in Spain? Approximately, because Maria did talk about that it did take a little bit, but how is your experience right now in the duration of this process?
Yes, it really depends on, it does take a long time. The fact that there is no concrete regulatory framework in Spain does not help because sometimes the local authorities also don't have a good idea of how to implement it, how to proceed with the permitting. And it also depends a lot on the region it's happening. But it does take a few months to really get everything going. And yes, it does depend a lot on the region, because some regions are more agile and also more conscious of the energy transition, but other regions are still struggling to understand what's happening and to develop all the permits.
Perfect. Thank you for that insight, Hector. I have a very interesting question from Nestor. I'm going to direct it to Maria, but please, Manuel and Hector, please pitch in if you find it necessary. Hector says that REPower EU programs suggest that there should be an energy community in every city with more than 10,000 inhabitants, which is a very ambitious goal, I assume. He's asked if there is a regulation framework in place or foreseen in any time that defines the nature of this idea or goal. I know that legislation is one of the key topics and key barriers in renewable energy communities. What is your approach and how do you see this foreseeable in the near coming, let's say, 10 to 15 years?
Well, I hope it doesn't take that long.
I was being pessimist, maybe.
10 years is a long time.
Yeah.
No, actually, one of our, there's no, as far as my knowledge goes, there's no specific piece of legislation or regulation in Portugal about it. But of course, we want to develop it. Actually, we want to have energy communities in 80% of our municipalities in Portugal. So that's one of our goals for the next year and a half. So that's why I was saying 10 years is a lot of time. Well, there's a difficulty here. That's the municipalities themselves. They have the permitting process of the energy communities, but they also have the public contracting constraints, and they are still navigating everything and trying to understand how they can implement energy communities. And I think they spent last year talking about it, thinking about it, and I think 2023 is the year that they will start moving on, and with the municipalities pushing for the energy communities in their territories to be developed, things will be much easier, of course. I will just wanted to ask a small thing about a previous question. Is that one of our other objectives inside the company is to have energy storage in at least 10% of our energy communities by the end of the year. So we are looking into it, of course, also.
Perfect, Maria. Thank you. Manuel, you would like to intervene?
Yes, I just want to say one thing because of this 10,000 participation of trying to do renewable energy. So one of the things that we are also trying to help is to the municipalities in Portugal to help them developing energy communities at the local level. it's not easy because, as Maria João said, we have the public contracting, so we have to make tenders and all these specific things that we have to do at a local level. But I just want to highlight one key thing here. It's, as you've seen in our case studies, so 80% of the case studies have the participation of the municipalities. So this is one of the things that I said in the study, and also I want to highlight here. It's that the participation of the local entities, it's one of the key drivers to be possible to achieve this number. Of course, the private entities as CleanWatts, and of course, they have a key role here, but municipalities they are also a driver in order to bring everyone. So to achieve these numbers, only with municipalities. And at the moment, we don't have a specific legislation for that. And I think it's not predicted for them. Okay. Yeah, we have, at the moment, I think we have a good framework. We already have the legislation in place. So it started in January 2022 with the transition to the electric sector. Of course, there are some things that we need to highlight to improve, but I just wanted to highlight the municipality aspect and the local level, the regional entities. They have to be a driver in this specific aspect. Okay.
You, Maria, you're on mute. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to add something to what Manuel said, because it's really important. As he said, the framework is good. It works. I don't think we need additional framework. And I've seen this happen and he's seen it also in previous kinds of projects, like the public lighting projects. We need the first municipality to move forward. Once the first moves, all the other ones will follow. We just need a first mover to take the risk, take the leap of faith, and okay, this will work, and then all the other ones will follow. That's why I was saying that 2023 will be the year that we will see a lot of stuff happening in the municipalities, because they are in the tipping point. Hopefully.
Fingers crossed. Not in 10 years, as I said before.
Yeah, not in
Right.
10 years.
Well, thank you so much. I wish we had more time to answer all these questions, but we will be sending it to our panelists so they have them if they would like to answer. To our participants, thank you so much for this session. It's been very eye-opening. I see that there's a lot of work to do, but renewable energy communities are here to stay. So we are looking forward to see what is ahead. So everyone, thank you very much. We will send you all the materials in a couple of days. Thank you, Manuel, Maria, and Hector, for this amazing presentation. I enjoyed it a lot, and I'm sure that our viewers have as well. And we hope to see everyone very, very soon. So everyone take care. And remember, 2023 is the year of renewable energy communities. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.